They say every haunted house has a story, but what if the story refuses to stay buried? This is not just another tale, it's the beginning of something darker. I flip haunted houses for a living, and this is where it all began. A lot of you asked me to go back to the very beginning, and I suppose that's fair. If I'm going to tell these stories, I can't leave out where it all started. Meadow Lane wasn't my first project. It was just one of the ones that left scars I still carry. The first house was smaller, a foreclosure on Sycamore Street. Nothing fancy, nothing remarkable. One story, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. A place so plain you could drive past it 100 times and never notice it. I thought it was going to be an easy job. I was wrong. That house is the reason I stopped treating ghost stories like jokes. It's also the reason I started carrying things in my toolbox that had nothing to do with nails or drywall. It was also where I first met Stanley. Back then, we weren't partners. Hell, we weren't even friends. My realtor just passed me his number, told me he was short on work and decent with his hands. That was it. But looking back, I know this much. If Stanley hadn't been there, I wouldn't be here telling you this story. The house. From the outside, it didn't look any different than the rest of the neighborhood. Peeling paint, a sagging porch, the kind of place you drive by without thinking twice. But small houses like that, that's where the trouble usually festers. The walls soak up every fight, every grief, every ounce of stress the family inside carries. Over decades, sometimes centuries, it builds, it warps, it opens cracks in places we don't fully understand. I wish I knew that back then. When I pulled up in my beat-up sedan, there was already a gray van parked in the driveway. The back doors were open, tools neatly hung inside like some kind of mobile workshop. A guy was bent over rummaging through a bag, half buried in the mess. "Stanley?" I called. He stood up, squinting against the sunlight. A little older than me. Heavy brows, brown hair, the kind of guy who looked like he'd been working with his hands his whole life. "You're Forrest?" "Yeah." He nodded, slung the bag over his shoulder, and walked toward me with an outstretched hand. "Good to meet you, man. Let's get this done."
First steps inside. The porch groaned under our weight, as if it was ready to collapse. I slid the key into the lock, pushed the door open, and that's when the smell hit us. Thick, sweet, like fruit left out to rot for weeks, or a body left somewhere it shouldn't be. Stanley gagged, waving a hand in front of his face. "Christ, should have cracked a window first." I forced to laugh, but it came out thin. At first glance, the living room was ordinary. Carpet stained and matted, wallpaper peeling in the corners, a couple abandoned pieces of furniture. Normal for foreclosures. Forgettable. But there was a weight in the air. Something that raised the hairs on the back of my neck. Something that told me this wasn't going to be just another house. The kitchen looked unremarkable. Dust, grime, cracked tile, almost boring. But the hallway was worse. Narrow walls that felt like they were pressing in, funneling us toward the rooms at the end. The rooms. The bathroom came first. Small, cramped, rust stains streaking down the sink, a cracked mirror that looked like it was peeling from the inside. Mildew blackened the tub, but the air, God, the air felt wrong, humid like the room itself was holding its breath. That smell was stronger there too, sweet, sticky. It didn't just cling to the air, it clung to me, like it was crawling into my lungs. I slammed the door shut, hoping to trap it inside, but the click of the latch echoed too long, like the house was mocking me. Stanley coughed into his shirt. "Dead raccoon under the floor, maybe?" "Maybe," I said, though I knew better. Dead animals reek sharp. This was slower, heavier, wrong. We opened one of the bedrooms and immediately heard the crunch. Not of wood, of shells. The floor was carpeted with bugs. Dead roaches, beetles, silverfish, thousands of them, brittle and dry, cracking like glass under Stanley's boot. In the center of the room, the pile was thicker, almost mounded, and when Stanley shifted his weight, the heap didn't scatter, it sank, as though something below was pulling it down. Neither of us said anything. We just shut the door. The last bedroom seemed plain enough. Empty bed frame, faded wallpaper, except for one thing. A darker patch on the wall where a picture must have hung for years. The rest of the wall yellowed with age, but that patch, untouched, smooth, like it had been waiting. I ignored it, or at least I tried to. Work begins. We started with the living room. Carpet ripped up, wallpaper stripped. Hours passed in a haze of dust and sweat. For a while, it even felt like a normal job. But whenever the tools went quiet, the smell came back, sweet, heavy, crawling up the back of my throat. The kitchen went the same way. Stanley cursed as he pried up stubborn tiles. My broom scraped the shards into piles. By the time we finished, it was dark outside, and the air inside felt thicker than ever. "I'm buying a respirator before I set foot in here again," Stanley muttered. I forced a laugh, but my nerves were already shot. "Let's wrap it up. I just want to find where that stench is coming from." And of course, it led me back to the bathroom. The box. I crouched down, following the smell to the cabinet beneath the sink. The closer I got, the heavier it grew, until I was bagging against my sleeve. Inside, shoved behind bottles of bleach and junk, was a wooden box, dark, polished, clean, too clean, untouched by years of dust or rot. I knew I shouldn't open it. Every instinct screamed at me to leave it alone, but I didn't. The lid came off with a snap, like bone breaking. Inside was a strange symbol, a hand with an eye in the palm. The smell exploded out of it, choking me. The walls groaned, the mirror cracked, the tiles shuddered. Stanley burst through the door. "What the hell's going on?" I couldn't answer because something was seeping out of the box. Not smoke, not shadow, a shimmer in the air, like heat warping asphalt, except this ripple bent the room itself, twisting it until my eyes ached. The hum started then, low, endless, so deep it rattled my teeth. The floor shook, the air bent, something pressed through the ripple. Limbs, black, dripping, tar-like, stretching, snapping, pulling themselves into the room. The sound came next, not a growl, not a scream, dozens of voices speaking all at once, but none of them human. My chest seized, my heart stumbled, my lungs refused to pull air. A tendril lashed out and snapped across my hand. My fingers broke. Pain tore through me, white hot. And still the thing came closer. Stanley did the only thing he could think of. He kicked the box hard. It slammed shut with a crack like thunder, and instantly everything
stopped. Aftermath. I sat on the floor, cradling what was left of my hand, gasping for air. The smell was gone, like it had never existed. The room was silent, still. Stanley's face was pale. His voice cracked as he whispered, "What the fuck was that?" I stared at the box in the corner, harmless now, as if it hadn't nearly torn a hole in the world. Finally, I said, "People live in these houses. Families, kids. If that thing had gotten out," I couldn't finish. Stanley was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. "All right. We deal with them, not just flip them, handle them, make sure no one else gets hurt." And that was the moment it hit me. Some houses aren't just broken, they're dangerous, and it was our job to deal with them. Some houses never let go of their secrets, and some secrets never let go of you. This was just the first of many, but trust me, it wasn't the last. If you dare to walk further into the dark with me, subscribe to The Boogeyman, where real horror stories never sleep.